Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Brother Sister Show, a family owned and operated podcast where two siblings keep in touch by talking about movies. This week, we're talking about Anthony's pick, The Farewell. But before we get to that, how you doing, Anthony? What have you watched? What have you done? All that
I'm doing
shit.
good. I feel like it's been forever since we recorded our last episode. I don't know why. Did we miss a
Because
week?
we're doing it on a Tuesday.
Do we skip a week or something? It feels like so
That's what it
long.
feels like. Sometimes that happens where I'm like, fuck, did we even put out an episode this week?
Yeah, I had to check. I don't know what it was that made me just.
Well, I think it's because we got in a groove because I was like, we need to find a day that we always record, and then I always mess it up where I'm like, I have to push you back.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, we're here.
Because for I guess behind the scenes, we usually record on Sundays, but today it's a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
So I think that's why it feels late.
Yeah. It's fine.
So.
It's fine. Well, I've actually watched quite a bit, or I remembered to write down what I watched. So first, I'll save the best for last. We watched Don't Let Go. Do you remember this movie? It came out in 2019.
Don't Let Go.
What it is a cop or detective. His niece and brother die, and his niece calls him from the past, like 2 weeks before she actually dies. So
Is it with David Oyelowo?
I think so. Yeah.
Why are you acting like I've heard of this before, or that I've watched this, or that we've talked about this?
What do you mean? I'm confused.
You said, do you remember Don't Let Go?
Well, like, it came out. Do you remember when it came out?
Oh. No, okay, so I saw it's like on Netflix or something, right?
I think so, yeah.
And I saw it and I was like, oh, I feel like I saw trailers for that, or I knew it was coming out, but then
exactly.
Nothing.
Before COVID, BC. Yeah, so I watched it. I really liked it. I looked up, because I just wrote the title of this movie. I didn't write down any notes. But I looked it up and it did not have good ratings whatsoever. But I really liked it. It wasn't like a groundbreaking movie by any means, but I really liked it.
Don't you like when that happens though? When you I feel like even for somebody that likes movies, I'm kind of ashamed to say this, but there's sometimes where I don't like a movie, or vice versa, but like sometimes where I don't like a movie and then I see the rating and then I see it's higher than I would think, and I'm like, okay, well maybe I should like it. You know what I mean? Like I try to meet, like if I think it's a 20%, or like let's say I think it's a 50%, people are giving it an 80, then I'm like, I try to meet myself in the middle of like the 80 and the 50.
You just want to follow?
I don't know why I do that, just because I think it's just like a human instinct of us wanting to like agree with other people.
That mob mentality.
Yeah, but I like when that happens where everybody hates a movie and then I'm like, well, I liked it. I don't know, like
I really liked it. That was good.
Built character.
It was a fun one, yeah. And then another movie that I was working on our website while we were watching it, so I was super invested. Like Don't Let Go, I was working on it and then I put it down just to like pay attention to it.
Oh,
yeah.
So you have bad taste. Okay.
No, the other one was called The Little Things. It's I think it's a with Denzel Washington, and oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
I spent also I didn't like the movie. I spent a majority of that experience trying to convince myself that the like antagonist wasn't Jared Leto. He looked so much like him. It's ridiculous.
Wait, what?
The guy. He looks like Jared Leto.
Wait. You're breaking my brain. In the movie with Denzel Washington and Rami Malek.
Yeah.
That's Jared Leto.
Are you serious? No way.
I'm gonna cry.
Is
Wait.
that really Jared Leto? Oh my gosh, it's Jared Leto. I didn't know it was
I'm
Jared Leto.
crying. I I wish Kayla heard my. I was like worried.
I'm
I'm crying.
I
Oh
was so
my god.
confused because like it looks like him, but like an imposter of him.
No, it looks exactly.
He looks like his evil twin. That's why I was so confused. I didn't even bother to look up anything.
I was. Was it just me? Because I was kind of half paying attention to it too. But at the end of it, I was like, what happened? Like, I had no idea what was going on.
I didn't watch the end. I fell asleep. Oh no, I didn't fall
Oh.
asleep. I was on the phone with you guys. You guys called,
Oh.
and I was like, I don't want to watch
Oh,
this
okay.
movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But,
I wasn't
sorry, go
fully
on.
invested. So I got that going for me. But I'm also just dumb. Wow. Well, that's eye opening. I even wrote down that line.
You really thought you did
I
something.
really thought I did something.
You thought I was going to be like, oh. Sorry, we need to move on from this. I could talk about this for hours. That was fascinating, what you just pulled.
Yeah, that was okay. Whatever.
What else did you watch?
Finding Ohana on Netflix as well.
Oh, I have no idea what that is.
Don't bother. Don't bother. It wasn't that good. It's like a geocache turned treasure hunt on
The fuck is a geocache?
geocaching is well, it's not like Kayla's writing an angry note at me right now because she liked it. Geocaching is like when you like when we found one at NLC. It's like where you write your name when you found it.
Oh, okay. I forgot that's what
Oh,
that was called.
it's also a Goonies remake. It was like pretty much the
What?
Goonies. Yeah, just read about it. Don't watch it. Don't waste your time. Just read about it. It was very much like the Goonies, though. It had the kid from the Goonies, the one who was like booby trap. I'm not gonna be able to say his name. Ke Huy Quan.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think he was in it. Yeah, he was in it. And then finally, best for last. I feel like this has been going on forever. I gotta cut so much. We've been watching. Kayla and I have been watching One Day at a Time, and I haven't talked about it yet. But that movie or show, that show is amazing. I love it so much because for so many different reasons. One, Rita Moreno in that show is our grandma. Like her character is just like grandma, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I love watching it for that reason. But also, like every time we watch it, I'll be like, "That's my grandma, Kayla. That's my grandma," and she's like, "Yeah." And then it got to a point where she was like, she looked at me and was like, "Do you know what that is? Do you feel represented?" And I was like, "Whoa,"
I know.
because, and I think that's why I love the show so much is because I've never
Mhm.
seen. I like paused it and I was like having this realization. I was like, I've never seen my family members in any show before, like ever.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, representation is something that I hadn't really thought about as far as like TV. And I don't know if that's just a lack of me like seeking out shows that would have that representation of our family. But it just made me realize that if I had, I guess, more representation of people in my life or me, I would love so many more shows because I love One Day at a Time. One, because it's like a Hispanic This Is Us, because they talk about so many different issues like
Mhm.
sobriety, depression, anxiety, uh, uh,
There's
yeah,
LGBTQ
everything.
representation.
They talk about everything. But
I think even like gender identities,
oh
like
yeah,
they have a lot of stuff going on. Military?
yeah, there's everything. and it's just in a sitcom like format. And I don't really like sitcoms, but this is just it's wild how represented I feel when watching that, and it's awesome. Highly recommend if you're even if you just want to find a good show, just watch it. It's really funny. I've Kayla noted that I've laughed more at this show than probably any other one that we watched together.
That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I mean, I think too, like I forgot who I was talking to about this, but just about how um oh, in a new project that I'm working on, we're trying to get there's like different identities and cultures that are involved in it, and I think we're trying, at least I'm pushing, or I guess this project in general is just pushing more specificity. And I think it's true when people say there's a specificity in, or there's a what is it called? When people say that like there's a relatability in specificity, because people get so nervous to be specific with stuff like that, like to talk about a Latino family that has, the grandma that they have that is also a military family, like has all these things, but like you said, you can relate to so much of that. And even then, even if it's just specifically you or Kayla or me or just like one person that feels like this is a show like them, for one, you're not the only one. There's tons of people like you. And two, people still like it. It still was, I mean, despite it getting
Of
canceled like
course.
many times, but it also got like saved many times purely because everybody loved it.
Yeah.
Because people like seeing those specific things. And I mean, we'll talk about that. I think that's a good conversation to have, especially for the movie that we're talking about today, where it is very it feels very specific, but there's so many people that have that same have probably experienced this.
Yeah.
Or even us, like we're definitely not a Chinese American family, but there's so many things that they talked about or the way that their family would interact that I was like, "Oh yeah, that seems exactly like our family."
Yeah.
And that's cool that people get to feel that where you that Rita Moreno, which is like, or she's already an amazing, like a legendary actress, but when people see her, you see your grandma, but people just see somebody they love. So in turn, they would love
Hmm.
our grandma. Like it's yeah. Sorry, I don't want to go on a tangent, but
No, yeah, I Kayla opening my eyes was like, because you could tell that she's had that same like realization, but she's just smart enough to have it on her own.
to not always say it.
Yeah.
And it's been a good thing for me for that. And I don't know if you can like relate to this, but TikTok. I feel like talk about all the fucking time on this podcast or just in life. But it truly has, like, I feel like the For You page is kind of scary because it's like so specific, but I love how specific it
Mhm.
is. Like I've never this year, or just as soon as I got on TikTok, I've never felt as seen as I do now.
TikTok just
And
gets me.
imagine if that was like I mean, honestly, it truly does. Like from mental health stuff to like body image stuff, like everything in between. I'm like, holy shit,
They get
that's
me.
me.
Well, that's good that you have that. I mean, better late than never.
I mean, there's certain things like there's I want to say it's a movie called, I think it's called like Real Women Have Curves with America Ferrera. And that was the first time I'd seen somebody that had like not that was like chubby and that was allowed to be chubby, and that was like a focal point of the movie, but it wasn't like that she was ugly.
Right.
And I think you would like that too, because that is very similar to like you said, our family structure, from what I remember. But yeah,
What you been up to?
I haven't really had an epiphany like that. Because I binge watched, I did it.
Fleabag?
I watched Bridgerton.
Oh wait, what?
Fleabag? No, not Fleabag. What?
What show?
Bridgerton.
Bridgerton. I don't know what that
I'm
is.
gonna make Sebastian watch Fleabag soon.
Yeah, I just remember last episode you talked about watching Fleabag again. I just didn't know if you had done it.
Yeah,
What's
not
Bridgerton?
yet. Bridgerton is it's a show like everybody's been obsessed with. Have you not heard of it?
Never before.
Oh, interesting. I all I do is hear about it. Well, it's a I don't know if you like period pieces, so like think Pride and Prejudice, all that shit,
Right.
but like a Shonda Rhimes show. So kind of like, but like Grey's Anatomy, like all that. So it's like dramatic. It's kind of like a soap, but it's pretty good. I mean, I think it has a lot of issues. There's really good articles about because this one it feels it's not a regular period piece, as in there's like actual people of color. That's not just white people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no really talk. I don't. I mean, I'm not the person to talk about like I guess the whole like blind casting of it all. Um, and there's some issues about kind of a they want to like it's diverse, but they kind of just made it. Uh, what's the word? They kind of like did the bare minimum of like
Yeah.
diversity. Anyways, but it's pretty good for like the storyline. I was pretty hooked on it. It's got a good love story. It's got a lot of good drama. I don't know if you would like it, but it's pretty good. I binged in like 2 days, so whatever that says to you.
Dang, you got
Have
too
you
much.
started watching
You
Fleabag?
got too much time. No, we.
God damn it,
I
Anthony.
think after one day at a time, because like I said last episode, we have like four new shows that we want to watch. One day at a time, just like took priority over everything. But Vikings and then Fleabag. So
All right.
I'll get there.
Um, and I watched like today. I watched The Big Sick. I just wanted to put something
I
on,
almost
and I
picked
just
it
forgot for
for this episode.
this
Yeah,
maybe a future one because it's pretty good. I mean, that's not like a hot take. I really like it. And I just forgot how fun it was,
yeah.
even though it's a really scary story. And I have heard this story like before it was made into a movie. Um, I think her name is Emily Gordon, but she like Kumail's wife went on a podcast and was talking about it. And I remember hearing that. And now I heard that in college and I was like, God damn it, this is so scary. But she got so in depth to what happened. Like she said they didn't even talk about how like what it was like to be in a coma because there were some times where she was kind of conscious where she didn't know what people were saying to her, but she like um she was it was like she was having weird dreams the entire time.
Wow.
And she said that or one part they didn't put in the movie, which I understand because it's really scary, is that it's when people are in comas, at least for her, when you're in a medically induced one, I don't know if this is for every single one of them, you can still move. So they had to tie her arms down because she kept pulling out her IVs. Because she could feel the medicine like going through her arms and she just thought it was I think she said in her dreams she thought it was like bugs or she thought it was something like crawling through her skin, so she kept scratching at it and her body like was actually doing that, and so she kept pulling shit out, and so they had to tie her arms down, and so obviously didn't put that in the
That would have been
movie,
awesome.
but like I think that's a different movie.
Yeah, that's a horror right there. Wow,
But
that's cool.
yeah,
Not cool, but like
so
that's cool that she went and told that story.
I think it was on
Story
I want
behind
to
the
say it was
story.
on Pete Holmes' podcast.
Oh,
I think you can find it somewhere where it was just her, because I think at that point I do remember I remember distinctly her saying that that Kumail didn't like talking about it. So like she told Pete the story because he didn't like to talk about it.
I
So
get that.
yeah. And then the last one I can talk about is a traumatic one for
Yeah,
me. Um, but I don't know if I tweeted this. Did I tweet this? Where I said like there was one day where I really wanted to watch Signs for whatever reason. And I think my tweet or the idea for the tweet was like, oh man, I have a really big like want to watch Signs, so that's how my day's going today. Like that I really need to watch Signs right now.
no, I don't think I saw that tweet.
Well, I at least thought it, but yeah, it just for whatever reason, I just like I had a need
You did that on purpose?
for Signs. Yeah. It used to scare me a lot, but now it's just a movie that I like to
Hmm.
watch randomly in the middle of the day.
Man, speaking of Twitter, I had a tweet that just absolutely flopped. I had deleted it. I felt ashamed.
Was it the scalp one?
No, that one's really funny. that one,
Did I even see it?
that one I will never regret.
Oh, even though when you sent it to me, I was like, I don't know what you're saying, but sure.
Yeah, I knew it was just you. I was like, yeah, this is a
I
banger.
Yeah, there's a certain time, like after 2 p.m., you can't really ask me shit because I'm just like so
For
confused.
those of you who haven't seen it, because it's breaking records. 14
Oh my
likes. I said, can't believe our scalp shits out hair 24/7.
God. So
But the
dumb.
tweet was, it was something like, why do the worst drivers always have primary colored cars? It just didn't hit. Yeah,
I don't know if I get that.
like red, blue, yellow.
I know what a primary color is. That's not the
Well, it's after
issue.
2, so you might be. I don't know. I just regretted it. Any new tweets besides that one? We haven't talked about that in a while.
Me?
Yeah.
Um, Let me see. I don't know if I have any drafts. I I tweeted. Oh yeah, I don't have any more drafts. There was one the other day that I thought was funny, but I don't remember what it was. Let me see. Oh, this one got 7 likes. I said, my boyfriend is moving in with me this week. What's the best way to tell him I only know how to make 5 meals and 3 of them are sandwiches?
That one's funny.
And my friend replied, BRB forwarding him this tweet. And I said, okay, but don't tell him one of the sandwiches is grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese.
So 7 likes. That's viral in my book.
That's a banger.
And then you know what? I'm going to call, I don't know if JT listens to every episode. I'm going to call him out right now because I also tweeted, why is ice cream from an ice cream truck always chewy? And I was like, oh, that's kind of dumb. I got 2 likes. And then JT responded, better question, why are you chewing it? And I think it's really disrespectful when a reply to a tweet is funnier than the actual
You
tweet.
got ratioed.
Well, okay. I'm so glad you brought that up because what the fuck is that?
Honestly, I said it because I think that's how that fits because I don't know. Okay, here's what I
I'm
think.
just calling you out left and right in this
I
episode.
think it means like
When the reply gets more
yeah.
attention.
Like the
Well,
ratio.
that's not true because I got 2 likes and then he got 2 likes.
I'll go like it right now because that's really funny.
No. Okay. But yeah, I think that's disrespectful. And JT, if you're listening, we have beef. Oh, I did tweet it. Just got the sudden urge to watch Signs, and that's how my day's going. No likes, which it doesn't
I
deserve.
didn't see that one. I probably wouldn't have liked it either.
Hmm.
Any movie news that you can think of?
No.
Okay. 2 things. WandaVision, I forgot to talk about it.
Mhm.
Episode 3, no longer sitcom format. We kind of know some background. Still,
Is this spoilers? Like, should I watch the show?
uh,
No.
you could honestly watch the latest episode and be fully caught up because the first 2, like the third one, is just like a different perspective of the events in the first 2 episodes, which is like,
See, from what I've heard, I think a lot of people. I've heard it. A lot of people don't like it.
yeah,
But what I'm hearing though is that they don't like it because, I mean, I hate to call out Marvel fans on a Tuesday night, but I think they're just saying like they're so like Marvel fans are so used to a formula and they're not sticking to it, and so that's why they don't like it. Like it's actually something that's new and fun, but because it's not giving you a story that you really want every week, that people are pissed. Because the format, from what I understand, sounds very interesting.
they
But I'm just not.
they broke the format. I think you're talking about where it's like every episode is a new decade of a sitcom.
But there's certain things that are broken in it, though, right? Like that, it's like they started from a certain point where they're trapped, and then like every episode they're getting freer and freer, and that's why it gets weirder, and their format is breaking. That's fucking cool.
It's
I
cool.
love that.
Uh,
Is the execution just not there?
I just don't care. Like
No.
I really don't care. I like the theories that people are coming up with. Kayla was like, man, they're getting wild with these theories, but I just think it's because this is the first ever like MCU TV show. So like, what else are they gonna do? Like, but
Well, I also, I always I always get really scared for fans when they come up with theories because if you just remember what happened in Game of Thrones, the theories are always going to be better than,
That's
or
true.
even, or even the theory of, one day I want one of the writers or directors for these shows to listen and just do what people say. Because can you imagine seeing Endgame and seeing Ant-Man go into Thanos' ass and explode him? Can you imagine what that would have
You know,
done?
they're doing an animated show called What If. if 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 they given the fans what they want, they're gonna do that.
There you
Um, that's the first thing. Second thing is I'm comfortable saying because I've talked to the people at Simplecast, um, that we hit 2,000 downloads all time.
go.
So
Ooh. Wait. You talk to the people at Simplecast for this? They're like, "Sir, it's only 2,000. You don't need to call us for this."
okay, so first, yeah, I've been in contact with them.
Okay.
For
Our partners at Simplecast?
yeah, this is my second time contacting them. Because I was like, man, there's no way this is popping off. I was like, there's no way. Uh,
Oh, yeah, didn't we just hit 1,000?
we hit 1,000 maybe November of last year.
Yeah, that doesn't add up. Sorry, go on.
I know it doesn't add up. Part of me, I'll. Do I want to get into I why? Okay, so we hit 2,000. So thanks,
Mhm.
congrats, Livia. We did a good job.
Just to me, thank
I
you.
was scared that it was me because of creating the website. I thought it
Mhm.
was me generating those numbers, but I contacted them. I said, "Hey, does your API generate downloads for the like on those analytics? Because I see a increase." And they said no. Um,
So that's all you, my man.
keep chin up, King. Uh,
Chin up, king.
I
Oh,
think some of it
God.
was still me because I had to play some of the episodes to alter something. I don't want to get into the details, but regardless, we're at a point where we've definitely hit 2,000. We're at like 2,100 now. So
Holy
like
shit.
the offset of me,
There's a blip, but it's not like.
yeah, it's not significant
Oh,
anymore.
so there was no fraud.
No fraud, no fraud.
Dang.
And now that I'm not working on the website anymore, like it's at a point where I don't need to work on the episodes tab anymore.
Mhm.
All the numbers are legit coming in. I mean, they have been, but
Dang. Up until now, they're legit.
and now. So thank you guys. I just want to say that before we get to the break. So thanks for 2,000.
Thank you. A Chinese family discovers their grandmother has only a short while left to live and decides to keep her in the dark, scheduling a wedding to gather before she dies in The Farewell. Directed by Lulu Wang, starring Shujin Zhao, Aquafina, and X Mayo.
As for the estimated budget, we don't have those figures, but we do have opening weekend. It made about $356,000. U.S. it grossed about 18 million, and worldwide, $22 million. Quite a lot, regardless of what the budget was. Critics gave it a 7.6 out of 10 on IMDb, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 89% on Metacritic. So don't be surprised if we like it. Don't be surprised.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
I love it.
That's a great movie.
All right, so just to hop into this, um, first fun fact is that this is the first ever PG rated A24 film.
A, a
Milestone.
lot of people, especially kids, should see this
True.
to mess them up.
And I was trying to think if I was surprised by this, but I really wasn't.
Yeah.
But I wonder what it takes to get a PG-13. Like one fuck
Do they even say that?
in the movie?
Yeah.
Well, they don't because it's PG.
Oh. Yeah.
I think you get a certain amount. I don't know. All right. So jumping into the movie, we meet Billy, played by Aquafina, and she's calling her grandmother, who she calls Nai Nai throughout the whole movie. And this made me think I need to call her grandma,
Yeah.
and I did. You didn't, Anthony, because you're a terrible grandson.
How,
Did you?
no, no. Oh, I watched it. I watched it like an hour ago.
Oh, there was still time. You piece. No, I'm kidding.
They're asleep, you know.
Um, but yeah, and Nai does a very grandmotherly thing of asking Billy if she's wearing a coat. And she's just making sure that she's okay. Not really concerned about what's going on with her. And Billy does hear, I don't know if she knows specifically that she's in the hospital, but she hears something over the intercom, and then Nai's like, no, I'm just at my sister's. Which I love that she's just like not telling her. Um, but yeah, Nai covers it up perfectly. She's like, oh, I have to go. And then after this, Nai's sister, I think it's her sister, talks to the doctor. She obviously gets bad news because she's like just waiting in the wings of the hospital, trying to put herself together before she goes and sees her
Pull
sister.
it together.
But when she when she goes and tells her, she's like, "Hey, you're fine. They said you're okay," and they leave. Um, and I remember watching. I think I wish I wouldn't have seen a trailer for this movie before I went to go see it. And that's a thing I do now, where I don't really watch trailers anymore. But that would have been such a like interesting thing to, because I already knew what this movie was about.
Yeah. I I saw this actually in New York with our parents.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was
What a flex!
huh?
What a
Yeah,
flex!
quite the flex. Back when we could go out
2 weeks ago.
a long time ago. A long time ago. Feels like years. Uh Good choice for a movie cuz I didn't yeah, keep on going.
Okay. All right. All right. So after this, we see Billy, who's at dinner with her parents. And when I don't really take any note of that. There was like a story that her dad told that I don't really
Oh,
remember, but he was like laughing the whole time, and everybody else was just like,
it
okay.
was a joke. And this joke like kind of comes up. I don't know if you it's just like
I didn't write it down,
oh, then we
or I don't remember
it
either.
was just like essentially this guy trying to tell his wife that her cat died, and he's like, you need to tell me in a like easier way. So he's like, okay, so the cat got on the roof and like jumped off, and then he learned his lesson. And later when the wife came home from work, she said, how's your day been? And he's like, it's good, but your mom's on the roof, meaning that she died. So that's the story.
Uh, I
That's the
forgot about
joke.
that. I like laughed right now, like I've never heard it before.
Oh, that's funny. That's a good joke.
that's that's the good thing about having a really bad memory,
Mhm.
is that everything is new, everything's funny to
Yeah.
me. All right, so after this dinner, Billy goes home. She discovers that a bird has flown into her apartment. While she's while she's trying to set it free, she receives a call from her grandmother. Um, and a fun fact about this, which I didn't know, I wouldn't have known this if I didn't do this research, but many superstitions cite a bird flying into the home as a sign of impending death.
I didn't know that either. I was wondering why they like focused on that because it
And because
happens.
it happens again.
Yeah, it happens a couple times.
And not only does it happen, like the second time it happens, this is kind of spoiler. I don't know if I put it, but um, is when Nina goes to the hospital
Mm-hmm.
that morning that they find out she's at the hospital.
Yeah,
So I really love that. Where I feel like some people, I wonder if some people it's obvious, but for me, I was like, that's just like, I guess that's a weird thing to have like in the movie, but
I was trying to be smart.
very
I was
cool
like,
to know
what
now.
does that mean?
What is the symbolism?
Because
What's going
she
on?
went on the phone with her grandma. She calls her again, and then
Yeah.
she comes back, and then the bird is gone, and I'm like, what is it? What does it mean? Is Jared Leto in this movie?
You're like, that bird looks, it's distracting. It looks so much like Jared Leto.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Oh man, Anthony. All right, so well, Billy's on the phone again with Nine Eye. She sees that she gets a rejection letter, and Nine Eye tells her that she needs to get a boyfriend. She doesn't tell her about the rejection letter. She kind of hides it, I think, though, throughout most of the movie. And like I said, Nine Eye's just more concerned about her getting a boyfriend, getting married. You know what grandparents want. After this, Billy goes to do laundry at her parents'. She tries to do laundry at a laundromat, but I think she runs into her landlord, and her landlord's like, "Hey, you gotta fucking pay, because if you move out, we could just double the rent, and we're not doing that. So like, pay or you're out of here." So she does laundry at her parents, like a good child would, and she senses something's up. And I really like this, where she's like, she's not giving it up, where she's like, something's fucking wrong, and y'all need to tell me what's happening. And so she's told that a cousin of hers is going to get married, despite him and his girlfriend being together for like a couple of months. And she thinks that's weird, but then she goes upstairs and sees her dad is just like sitting on the bed, just like staring at the wall. And she's like, okay, something's fucking happening. Like,
Psycho
what's going
style.
on?
Or mom tells her that he's sleeping. That's a weird way to
Yeah,
sleep.
something like that. And her mom's just like, just leave him alone. He's fine. This is when she learns from her dad that Nine Eye is dying of stage. Oh, no, she doesn't learn it from her dad, from her mom, I
Hmm.
think, right? That she's dying of stage 4 lung cancer and has about 3 months to live, but it might be shorter than that, which is heavy, heavy news
Very
to
rough.
tell. Yeah. And I just love that the dad is like obviously distraught and the mom was just making dinner. But I mean, that's really indicative of this, like how her mom reacts throughout the whole movie. And she does give, I really love the explanation she gives later, which I'll talk about. But this sounds so dumb, but like, I love the, like, you just, when you see this movie again and you know what happens and you know, like, you get more of a sense of who the parents are when you watch the movie again. You're like, yeah, that's very, like, I know that she would do that because I'm so familiar with these characters now. So I just think that's really
That's a
funny.
good point.
And so after that, um, that's when they also tell her that Nina has absolutely no clue, because she's like, I need to go see her. And they say, no, you can't go because she doesn't need to know that she's dying. And I think she says like, we're that the family decided that it's better for her not to go.
Yeah, which is like, damn. And honestly, at this point in the movie, my first time viewing, I'm like, damn, because I think I didn't know anything about this movie.
Mm.
Uh, and it's just like, if mom and dad didn't tell me I had asthma, who knows where I'd be.
God. Yeah, that's equivalent. But her mom says that because she's like, why would you not tell her? And her mom says that they have a saying: when people get cancer, they
They die.
die. And she says it's not. She explained. She said it's not the cancer that kills them; it's the fear. So it's kind of funny when she first says it, because you're like, well,
Of course.
no, but like that's kind of, yeah, like, but I mean, fair. I don't know if that's like medically, it's not peer reviewed. I don't know if it's an actual study, but I guess that could be true.
It's like
Um,
placebo. I don't know if placebo is the right word, but uh like paranoia. What's that word? We're
I don't
always
know. Think
being
about it while I
yeah. Keep
continue.
on.
So then they explain to her that the wedding is so oddly timed because it's actually just an excuse for them to go see her. And like I said, they tell Billy that she can't go. And one thing I want to note about this is that they keep mentioning we. So, like I said, they keep saying, like, we decided not to tell her, or we decided that you shouldn't, like, the family decided that you shouldn't come. And it just really shows the difference in culture. Kind of we were talking about earlier, like representation. Um, the the one side of it is, like you said, like, is what you're experiencing, Anthony, where you get to see something that you're familiar with, and you get to kind of like, I don't know, there's a power and relatability where you're like, oh, like, I'm not the only person that has to go through this. The other side of it, for people that maybe don't really relate to it, is that you get to learn about these
Mm-hmm.
cultures. And so I did a little bit of research to kind of explain this, even though the movie does an amazing job of kind of showing you. I just wanted to give some sources. So the first one says the family like for a Chinese family, has long been a key component within the Chinese society. And many aspects of Chinese life can be tied to honoring one's parents or ancestors. In fact, the majority of the quote unquote five relationships espoused by Confucius were directly centered on the family. Due to this focus on the family, it was common for the Chinese, even when fully grown with children of their own, to not only remain in or close to their hometown, but also have many, if not living generations of family living under the same roof. I don't know. Sorry if that didn't make any sense, but basically it's very common for an entire like family with multiple generations to be living in the same house. Um Chinese who may have done business far from home or may have been appointed to government posts far away would normally have found time to return home on a regular basis, giving rise to the popular Chinese saying, falling leaves return to the root of the tree that sired them. That doesn't sound great in English, but I'm assuming it's translated, so that's why it sounds kind of weird. But that is from I found that from chinaculturecorner.com, which I really love that URL. Um, but yeah, I just thought that was really cool to like learn about another culture because that is very they do touch on it later, but me and you are very like Americanized, so that's like totally not something that like the Western world is. It's kind of like the separation of like I think it's Western, right?
Yeah.
Western is more individualized, and then Eastern culture is more based on like heavily based on a family. Because can you imagine like all like at least our family, just all of us living in the same house
That's ridiculous.
for us.
Yeah.
But interesting to think about that. That's how some people. That's just expected. Um, and it also gives you a lot of background into why, like the family dynamics here, especially because of that last part. The reason I added that last part is because it seems like Billy and her family don't go and visit often. So they're already kind of going against those culture norms, which is interesting. All right, so next in the back in the movie, despite the family's decision, Billy decides to go anyways, which I get. I mean, I think I would too. Like, I but that's probably the American in me, and that's probably why she goes because she's like, I don't care, I'm gonna fucking go. Um, and we instantly see why her family did not want her to go because as soon as she gets there, she she's really having a hard time hiding those feelings. Her grandma's instantly
What's
like,
wrong?
"What's wrong?"
Yeah. I mean,
And they know. I mean, I think if I was our grandparents too, if as soon as we stepped in, they would know instantly. It's like they know instantly when we haven't eaten anything, and instantly when something is
they
wrong.
just smell it. They just know.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, "You didn't eat lunch,"
The last time you ate was
and
48 hours ago. Why is that?
you're tired. You haven't slept. All right, so I love this conversation that she has with her uncle. So they have like a nice dinner. I didn't really note too much about it, but what I really loved was this conversation that she has when her uncle walks her to her hotel room, where he's like telling her that he bought Nine like or he bought like no, they're not vitamins, but it's medicine for cancer, and he's telling her that they're vitamins, and he just keeps like reiterating that they can't tell her and they just run out of stuff. Like they're not familiar with each other because you can tell they don't really talk. They haven't seen each other in years probably. And he just keeps repeating himself. At the end of it, he's just like, "We can't tell her." And she's like, "Okay." And he's
I
like,
know. I know.
"Yep, she won't she's not able to know." She's like, "I know." Okay. And it just keeps going. Like that perfectly displays like when you have somebody in your family that you don't really know well and then you're left alone with them in a room and you like don't know what to say, which I loved. And then after this, at this point, I always try to do a check in with myself to be like, how would I feel? And so this is where I did this check in
Yeah.
where I was like, how would I feel? Because I think I would be pissed too. I see why she's pissed because she's having a really hard time reconciling why they're not telling her.
Yeah. I mean, she talks about it later, but like it's like illegal in America to do that to just like withholds that kind of information from someone.
Exactly.
Regardless of how old or related to you they are. Uh,
I do know of oh god, I should have looked him up, but, I know of this do you remember the ESPN, um, reporter that he had cancer and he knew he had cancer, but he made it a point to tell his doctors that he didn't wanna know what stage he was at. He didn't
oh,
wanna know what stage he was at, he didn't wanna know Dad's gonna be so pissed if we because we don't know his name.
I gotta look it up. Yes, I know. I know his face. It's like right there in front of my face.
I wanna say Scott,
Yeah, yeah. Uh, keep on going.
but
Stuart Scott.
anyways, so he
Stuart Scott.
Stuart Scott, I had it. Um, rest in peace. He didn't want to know he like knew and he was going through like treatments, but at no point did he want to know what stage, how it was going, how if the medicine was working or not, which is kind of the same thing where I mean this is very cultural based I think, but like this at least this case for the farewell it feels so wrong to me too, like I would feel so uncomfortable with it. And there's a lot of points that we'll bring up later that we can talk about, but at this point the note I made was that I feel like this movie is a huge lesson in learning, not only learning about other cultures like I said before, but also respecting them, where I mean it is true in America that this would be illegal, but that's not we're not talking about the legality of it, we're talking about the morality of it, especially because I mean and it seems like in their culture it's not illegal, so the question is it moral, like should you be doing it?
Yeah, it's more
And
of a
so
disservice if you do it anyway, because like they say, it's like you're like it does no good. She's gonna die no matter what. Why not spend those days as is? You know.
yeah, but yeah, I don't know, it's a very interesting, I think it's a very interesting movie in many ways and that's one of them. All right, and then our next moment is probably one of my favorite moments of this movie, is when Billy is with Nine doing her workouts with her.
Yeah,
I don't remember what she called it
I don't remember
or
either.
if she called it anything, but it's basically just her like punching the air and just she's like, we need to what did she say? Like we need to hit your legs to like
Get the
get
circulation
circulation in
going.
them.
Hit your arms too.
Yes. So I just she's like, hi, right? That's what she
Yeah,
does. Like or ha.
she's ha. Oh, I hit my
Yeah.
mic
Oh, there
really
you go.
hard.
Reverb.
Boom.
But okay, so I want to explain why I really love this moment because I mean, I'm not an actor. So I don't I guess an actor that's listening can tell me if this is right or wrong. But what I think as an audience member is that these moments of just like not it doesn't feel like it's scripted. Like it just these moments like this of stuff that feels spontaneous is so hard to get right. I feel like this scene is harder to do. Technically, like all of those, I think it's way harder to do than the scene later where the uncle is making a speech and starts crying. I think this is way harder to do because I feel like the big emotional moments, that's what you're taught, I think, in like acting school. This is such an
To
ignorant
just
take
go
because
to
I don't
those
know.
dark moments.
But yeah, but I mean, that's what you're taught to do because that's how you prove that you're a good actor, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think about just when a when an actor's nominated for an Oscar, think about that clip that plays. It's always the most emotional part of the movie. And but to me, these moments of authenticity of just Billy and Nine being like a grandmother and a granddaughter, that authenticity is so hard to fake.
Yeah. It's easy to cry, but
And
it's
it
hard
feels
to be
so real.
authentic.
Oh my god. You
That's
just turned into it.
that's what I heard from Livia.
That's a tweet right there. And you know what else too? Realize real
Real
lies. And that's a tweet. But yeah, you just ruined my great point. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's a good point.
But
It,
because this, like I said, it feels like it's not scripted. It could very well be, but it just felt like two people that are just doing their thing. And that feels so hard to do.
it's a good scene. I mean, it comes back a little bit towards the end.
Yeah, it's a good way. It like ties up the movie. And I when we get to the end, I'll talk about why I my love hate relationship that I have with moments like those. Wow, I'm like stumbling throughout this entire sentence. But yeah, when you have one thing that like ties it up at the end, sometimes it works really well, like in this case, but sometimes it's like
Yeah, too. It's like too reaching
too on
too
the nose.
hard. Yeah.
All right, so after this, Nine goes to the hall to get everything ready, and then Billy and her dad are having like just the weirdest day at a spa. And Nine gets, I think, I don't know if anything happens after this, but she has a moment where she's like really upset because they have crab, but she wants lobster. And she gets upset to the point where she almost like faints. Like she gets like really weak.
Yeah, I mean, she has lung cancer, so she doesn't have the best breathing. So
The way you said that was funny. Sorry. But
I get it.
yeah, no, exactly. And I really love the spa moment too with her and her dad because they're kind of like quiet with each other, but then I like the moment where he makes a joke. I forgot exactly what
Oh,
the joke
I
was.
remember.
He makes a joke and she like Billy's the only one that catches it. Like the two girls, like the aunt and then the worker,
It's
they're
like
like
what?
so confused. Oh, because he tells them like they're talking about like calling each other beautiful or something like that. And she's like, "Well, what do you want?" to the dad, like, "What service does he want?" And he's like, "Oh, you can call me beautiful."
That's so funny. I laughed really hard
I
at
just
that one.
like that she. I know, and I love that she. Billy's the only one that smiles, and the rest of them are like, "What?"
Right this way.
Like, I think that's really. That's what I love about this movie. How they show relationships. Where that I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a dad and a daughter."
It's very authentic.
Very much so. In the very small ways. And like I said, it's so hard to do those. Cuz I feel like a lesser movie would have been like just always constantly calling him like her calling him dad but then him calling her daughter. Like that kind of thing. And that's like, okay, we get it. That's your
Do you
daughter.
think it's because
But
it's based on a true story? Like,
oh yeah.
okay,
And the director and writer yeah, it's based on I think the I don't know if it was in the movie, but the marketing is like based on a real lie
yeah, I like that.
instead of true story.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
I think so, but I wouldn't I don't wanna say that though, because I don't wanna say that that's the only reason that this movie is good in being authentic, because I think Lulu Wang, I think, is just an amazing storyteller,
Yeah,
and I feel like I don't know exactly how much translates to like, if that actually is the relationship she has with her dad, or if that's just the way that she wants to tell this story, you know?
yeah, yeah. I think it
But
helps regardless.
oh, yeah, it helps a ton. Um, sorry, let me see. And okay, so Billy then asks her aunt after they're in their spa. I think I don't know what the dad does. He like gets a bath or something. But Billy gets this like cupping thing, which the cupping massages look terrifying. I could never. But while she's with her aunt, she asks her aunt, like, "Do you think we should tell Nai Nai?" And her aunt's like, kind of the same thing as her parents and everybody else, where she's like, "Well, what good will it do?
Yeah,
Like, what's the point?" Which, I mean, hard to argue. That's the thing where I feel like every time I side with Billy, but I'm also like, I don't know what I'd say to that.
yeah. It's kind of hard to fight it. I mean, like I think she's in a weird point where she's like kind of in between two different cultures. Because like she
Yeah.
left China when she was 6, they say. So she's been gone for 25 years or however long. I think it was 25. So it's just like conflicting ideologies that she's a
And
part of both of them.
I'm sure that's the experience of I guess she would be first generation then, right? But just the experience of people that immigrate to America and that have these dual identities. They do feel very separate from each other, especially because of this. I mean, they're Chinese, but they're American. Well, we can get into a little when they have the dinner scene because that's more about this.
Okay,
But
sorry.
It's something no. I'm glad you brought it up because that is a huge theme. Like, I feel like everything we talk about is a huge theme throughout this entire movie, which I love. I love that the director is so good at not like, for me, I feel like it'd be hard to when I'm writing, I'd be like, "Okay, so this scene is gonna be about Nai. This one is gonna be about immigration." You know what I mean? Like, I'll separate it, but she, like, strings it all the way
All
throughout.
right, folks, immigration scene. Let's go.
Exactly, but I'm not a good writer, so that's why mine would be like that. Um, yeah, and then after this God, this movie is also I forgot how funny this
Ugh.
movie is too. There's a scene where the couple that's getting married, which first of all, any scene with them is so fucking funny because they do not want to get married.
It's so
I don't know
good.
if I mentioned this, but it's not that like it's not that they're just saying that they're gonna get married. They're actually like forcing them to get married. Like, can you imagine? I mean, you and Caleb been together for a long time, but can you imagine if mom and dad were like, "Hey, we need you to guys to have a wedding for this reason, but you actually have to get married." Like, can you imagine that? And so they're having this
It's like a photo shoot.
photo shoot,
Yeah.
yeah, with a really cool setting, but the photo shoot is insane, and they are not having a good time. It's very awkward, and Nine Ni's also not having a great time, and I just laughed so fucking hard when because Billy's there too, and Nine Ni's like she's trying to help them out. She's like, "Hey, you need to act like you like each other." And then Nine goes up to Billy, and she says that that she doesn't like the fiance because she's dumb and she doesn't understand anything. And Billy's like, "Well, she doesn't speak Chinese."
That's so
She's like, "Well, she's still dumb. I don't like her."
funny. And also, she's like, I wonder what they do in the like. Oh my gosh.
Oh, she's like, "Well, I need to," because they were standing so far apart, and she was like, "You need to like lean on him, like hug them, like something." And she tells Billy, like, "I don't. What would they do? Like, I'm trying to push them to
Yeah.
interact. What would they do if I was gone? Like, what do they do in the bedroom when I'm
Yeah,
gone?"
that's what I was trying to say. I couldn't. My brain couldn't do it. But yeah, I laughed so hard.
I think too that I don't know if I've ever seen there probably is, and I'm just like I've only seen this movie so far, so it's just like this is in my mind. But I feel like grandparents in movies are given this like I mean, it's the culture, and I feel like everybody's culture is that you respect the elderly. So you respect them, but they also have this air of respectability. But I love that in this, not to say it's not respectable, but just for her to be talking so much shit is
Oh,
so funny to me. Like, to be just a normal person and not just like the matriarch of an entire family, that she also gets annoyed. She also talks shit. She's also making jokes.
yeah. It.
I think it's so funny to see, and I love it.
She just doesn't care. I laughed. She's a grandma. Like, I mean, she's
Yeah.
probably a real grandma, whatever. But like, she in this movie, she plays the best grandma, and so funny. I really like throughout the movie. She keeps on calling uh Aquafina's. I don't remember her character's name. She calls her
Really
stupid child, or that
stupid
that's
child.
whatever is translated, whatever it is. But
Oh,
it's so funny.
so funny. I wonder how good the translation is. I
Yeah,
wonder hopefully if somebody that understands their language, if you can like tell us if the translation is good or not.
and also the point where she when Billy is her name. When Billy gets first,
I say it so many
I know,
times.
I just forgot, but I read it. When she first gets there, she like Nine Eyes like feeling her butt. I laughed so
Oh
hard
my
at that one. Because she's like, I always liked touching your round butt. And I just feel like that's a grandma thing. Like whenever they see you, they just like touch some part of you, like your arm, your hair, whatever, your cheek.
I was gonna say our grandmas, they love touching my hair,
Yeah,
but they're the only people like our family are the only people that I let touch my hair.
yeah. It's just
That's so
grandma
fun.
things. Hard to be authentic.
Yeah. All right. And so this next scene is the dinner scene that I was talking about, where I really love it for so many reasons. But one reason is the revolving table looks fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
It's just constantly moving. I wonder. I think I've seen that in other movies, and I need to find. I've been to like revolving like plays, like the revolving sushi bar, like stuff like that. But I've never even. I don't even ever like think I knew there was a possibility of a revolving table.
Yeah, that's like next level
How do
stuff.
you pay attention to like conversation? I would be like, Shh, I need to see what's next.
Hold on.
Everybody shut up.
I got something going on.
But yeah, and the second thing is just another glimpse into their culture and their reasoning, like just the way they live. And it's this idea that they're talking about that their kids are like the stock market. And I thought that was really interesting, and I something I did find when I was trying to research just like the history of a Chinese family or the culture too. And so I found a couple of things that, or no, one quote. Okay, so the implementation of the Chinese government's one-child policy meant that for years the family's prospects rested largely on the shoulders of their only child. Did you know about this, Anthony? I'm assuming you
Yeah,
did, but
I didn't realize that it was such a recent thing. I didn't realize it was only phased out
yeah.
in 2015. Wow.
Yes, so like you said, while the policy was phased out in 2015 and the parents can now have more than one child, most are still utterly devoted to their children's success. They ultimately want to see their children be more prosperous
Perfect.
than themselves. Therefore, receiving a good education and attending university is highly regarded. However, that is often expressed in a way that puts heavy expectations on the child to excel in meeting their parents' aspirations. And I found this from Cultural Atlas. So they talk about, I think in this movie, they mention that it's like basically their kids are like investing in the stock market where you send them to amazing schools. Like I think her cousin, the younger cousin, I think his name is Bao.
Hmm.
They're sending him to America to a really good school so that I think they like they say, so they're investing in his future so that he can make a lot of money and help them out and take care of them because that's what the culture is. And I just that is so interesting to me where it's kind of similar. At least I don't want to talk about like America is like has so many different subsets, but I guess for our family, I'll be specific in what I'm talking about. I don't think I think it's kind of I don't know if it's exactly like that. I don't know if our parents would say that we're a stock market, but it's just very interesting the motivations of wanting your children to be successful. Because I mean, our parents do, but I don't think I've ever thought of it like that. But there's no expectation for us to, at least that I know for us to like provide and to take care of them. So it's just so interesting to see, especially seeing like these conversations be had. Is that a sentence?
Being have
Being had,
I don't know grammar. I don't know English.
happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think about that?
Um. Well, I
Just
mean,
this whole conversation of the difference of America and China.
well, it's definitely interesting because I only know one side of of the argument, and I really liked how they were the two characters were really fighting, the mom and
Hmm.
then I don't know how she was related. She was a cousin.
I think she's the aunt.
Oh, yeah. I really
I
liked
think
their argument.
she was the sister of Billy's dad.
Oh, okay.
Wait, right?
I don't think so.
Al's parents?
I don't think so. I don't think so because in the uncle's speech, like Billy's uncle's speech, he said, "Thank you for raising or for taking care of my mom, even though she's not yours or something." I don't know. Uh,
Oh.
Regardless of
Oh,
who
yeah,
she
you're
is,
right.
I just like their argument because it's so passive and it feels so real. Because it's like, well, regardless if you like China more, you're still sending your son to America. So what's up with that? And I just like that like passive aggressive argument. But it was definitely
And that's
interesting
oh, sorry.
talk, an interesting argument. I I think I can share or we can share similarities with what you just said here from your like little excerpt or whatever. Because like there isn't really an expectation for us to, or at least I never felt super like stressed to become super successful or more successful than our parents. I think our parents did a good job of like, hey, you find something that you really want to do and do it, and we'll support you no matter what. Um, that's America. I don't know. I really liked watching this. I don't think I really have my own thoughts about it. I was thinking about something else about this scene.
Well, that's the thing though, is that so they did like I noted that they have after this, they talk about like their children and then they talk about the difference of America versus China in terms of like just living standards, where the mom brings up a really cool story about how when they first moved there they went to a church and Billy like was trying to play on the piano and her dad was like, no, don't do that. But then I don't know if it was a priest, I'll say it was a priest, came by and like gave them the key to the church and they were like, you can come in here whenever you want so that she can play, because they said they didn't have a piano so they couldn't she couldn't play anymore. And then she and then her mom, after telling that story, her mom's like, that's America. And then I think but then Billy was like, yeah, but it's not all that great. Like she brings up the points where she's like, well,
Guns.
but and that I think this movie is so fucking amazing, where it does so much with so little. That's all I'm going to keep saying throughout this. Where the mom has that one story to take, and that gives the entire example of what she views America as and why her and her husband moved from not just like China, but from their entire family. And they had this hope and they have this like, that's how people treat each other in America. But then Billy grew up there. She's like spent most of her life in America. So she's able to there's this like break. I feel like there's this breakup between generations where one is very grateful for like grateful to a fault, where they don't want to like talk about the faults of where they live because then they think that's being disrespectful. But then Billy is of the generation that she does love her, like she does love being there and she does love where she lives, but she that doesn't mean that it's absolved from any sort
Right.
of like criticism. So I just think that is such a good example of like what I've seen happening, especially now, where like that disconnect. And I think just this one conversation, that one, like literally two things being said, shows that entire, like encapsulates an entire thing that's happening right now.
Yeah. Still so relevant.
It's amazing. And there was another thing I was going to say, but I forgot. But well, I guess I keep calling her the aunt, but I don't know who she is anymore. But she brings up the fact that the two brothers, so Billy's dad and then the uncle, they moved away. Like, because so the dad, obviously, they moved to America, and then the uncle moved to Japan. And they moved away from China and they broke that cultural norm of like that I discussed, where they stay home and they stay with each other and they live together and they take care of each other. And she asked like, well, do you ever consider how Nine felt about that? And then Nine's like, I don't want to talk about this.
I'm
But yeah, just so many things are happening in this conversation that is so interesting.
yeah, and that point that she made, the aunt, whoever she is, uh, just made me think of that discussion that we had outside of the podcast, where it's like, uh, Hispanic families are very much kind of in the same fashion, where like you don't really move away from your family. If you do, then your family kind of moves with you. It's very interesting. And I could
There's a lot of similarities. I mean, we say like Western, and in this movie they say Western and Eastern, but um like the culture we're familiar with, which is Mexican American culture, just Mexican culture, that is a thing
yeah.
where you do take care of your parents and but like I feel like we're in the middle of being more like it is that like Mexican side, American side, American American side. Yeah, it is a weird like a lot of the things to a certain extent that Billy is feeling like they're being torn between two cultures and identities. I do feel that to a certain extent.
Yeah,
Of like I feel a certain way about certain things, but then I feel bad about feeling that way.
that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna mention. That's what I think. I took from this dinner scene way more than the America versus China discussion, or just the different living standards, was that like duality that Billy feels. And I feel like
Mhm.
a lot of child of immigrants can relate to, because if you move away from your family and you're not using your family's like native language, you're only using English. Like I don't know Spanish, but like our parents do, and my grandparents do, and I can't speak to them in Spanish. Um, I mean, Billy can do that to a certain extent during this conversation. I think that's why it came up so much to me, is because there was a couple of points where she's like, I don't know what they're saying. Can you like translate for me? Like, just a couple of
Mm.
words. Uh, and the cousin and obviously the bride doesn't even understand whatsoever, so they're just there. Like,
Yeah.
I felt that when they were just sitting there, just like watching back and forth the argument, because they don't understand anything. I felt that, like, just being at family gatherings, not understanding Spanish, like just there.
Yeah, it's like weirdly isolating.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's your family, but it just
Yeah.
feels so like you're there with strangers. I just I think a lot of people can relate to that. Maybe not a lot of people, but I think a large amount of people could.
I think so.
Yeah.
Good point. All right, so back to the movie. Billy wakes up the next day and finds another bird in her room. And they find out directly after, like I said, that Nine Eye's in the hospital. But they get there and she's totally fine, or
Mhm.
at least she tells them she's fine, but they wait for the doctor. And when the doctor gets there, Billy finds out that he speaks English, so they're trying to find out about her condition. And this scene is so fucking funny because, like, Nina obviously doesn't understand what they're saying because they're speaking in English. So she thinks that they're like flirting or that they're just getting to know each other, and she is beaming and they're talking about her condition and if she's getting bad, like worse. And just her face throughout this whole thing while she's just smiling and they're talking about her cancer is just like morbidly very funny to me.
It's like
And
how I was talking
he
about, like, just not knowing, but it's like being
exactly, yeah.
excited about not knowing. The possibilities are endless.
She just wants her granddaughter to
Find a man.
a doctor husband. Um And so the doctor tells them that the cancer's pretty advanced. And then Billy asks him about the morality of the situation. She's like, should we be doing this? And he describes it, which I think it's a great term for it, is, well, I don't, I guess it depends. But he says that it's a good lie because she's like, well, we're lying to her. And he says it's a good lie, which is interesting for a doctor to be saying. So that's like another, like, especially because he said that they did the same
Yeah.
thing. And I guess I just didn't realize, especially in this movie, I thought it was kind of like, especially when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, this is an interesting story. But to know that it's very common
Yeah.
is interesting. And yeah, I just, it's a good lie, is what he says. And so now they're in the waiting room waiting for, I think they tell Nina that they want to take more tests.
X-ray, yeah.
And in the waiting room, the dad is now starting to wonder, Billy's dad is starting to wonder if it is a good idea, which I thought was interesting that he actually started to like voice his daughter's opinion, which I think it's pretty true. Like, even though, like, we've already seen that he obviously goes against these cultural
Yeah.
norms. And I mean, it's his daughter. So I think he's going to like listen to her, and he sees that she's hurting. So he wants to like try to help. Um, And this is when, like you said earlier, they talk about how in America it's illegal, and then they're like, "Yeah, but we're not in fucking America." And then the sister, I think she kind of drops like a little bombshell on them, where she's like, "Nine, would be fine with it. I'm gonna tell her when the time is right." And then she's like, "Well," they're like, how do you know that?" And she's like, "Well, she did it.
Boom.
She did the same thing to their grandfather, her husband." Which yeah, I mean, after that, I was like, "Ooh, and yeah, maybe she would want that."
Yeah, because just throughout the
I
whole
think the
time,
rest
her
of them
mom.
were like that too, where they're like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, yeah.
And then shortly after, I just want to talk about this little icon that we meet, little Ellen. She's only in the movie for a few minutes, but it makes a very big
Stole
impact
the
on me.
show.
That little dress. I think they even A24 like sold a keychain or a doll of her or something. I think it
Oh,
was a doll, like a full on doll of her.
yeah.
She sang. They were like cheering for her and like
Icon.
amazing. She's yeah, an icon. That's how I described her. All right. After this, after we meet a legend, we or Billy has a conversation with her mom about grieving after God, this movie is so good about like having rough conversations or having like I said, morbidly funny things where the dad he's like drunk, he's passed out in the bed and the mom and her talking about grieving. Where I love this moment where like Billy is you could tell she's mad at her mom for not showing emotion, and she's actually because she's complaining about Nai Nai. Where I mean, that's her mother-in-law, so she's annoying. She or like not annoying, but she's like she knows that he has a drinking problem. Why would she, force him to drink? Like all that stuff. And Billy's like, "Well, she's dying. Like, why are you saying this?" And she's like, "Well, I mean, so."
Ain't no
And
excuse.
exactly. But her mom says that she brings up a example of when her dad died. She said she was of course she was sad. She was so sad about it. But she felt like whenever she went to his funeral that there was this expectation put on her to put on a show to basically prove that she was grieving and that she was sad, and she was like, I don't want to do that. I know I love my dad and I know I'm sad. Why do I need to prove that? So she's
Yeah.
like, I didn't cry at all. And I really like that. I don't know, because especially as somebody that I don't think I show my emotions the way that people expect me to. I'm just not good at it. Like I just am not good at this sounds weird. I'm not good at emotions. I'm not good at like gauging them, and I'm also not good at showing them. So I think I like that for something that I couldn't put into words, that I felt like she was putting it directly into words for me,
Yeah.
which I
She got
loved.
you.
Exactly. So after this, after visiting, they visit their grandfather's grave, which I really liked. I was trying to find more information about like this ritual, or I don't want to call it a ritual. I don't know exactly what it is, or just like I guess just a visitation. But they go to their grandfather's grave and they just like give him like a meal. The dad like gives him a cigarette.
I
You want
like
to talk
that.
about this?
I
I
like that
feel
a
like you
lot.
like. Do you want to say what it was?
Wait, what?
The smoking.
Oh, you can say it.
Okay. So he like the dad like gives him a cigarette and the mom's like or Nine Eyes like he didn't smoke, he quit. And he's like, he told you he quit, but he didn't fucking quit. And the uncle's like, he's dead. Let him fucking smoke.
Enjoy the smoke, Dad.
And then I don't know if he caught this, but like they were burning stuff next to it when they were like burning that stuff. She was like, well, I'm gonna burn his coat so that he'll be like warm in the winter. I just that was such a cool insight into like their culture. I always try to I think I say this like every episode, but I try to think of movies like this as like gifts, and I feel like this is a gift in showing us something that's very
Oh
intimate.
yeah, it taught me so
Um,
much.
yeah, that's just so cool about just like afterlives, especially as for me, I don't really have a direct spiritual or religious identity, so it's so cool to see other ones and to kind of like just see what other people go through. And also just logistically just seeing what their graves look like is so interesting
Hmm.
to me. Cuz it's so different than in America obviously. They're I think they're cooler. But either way, like it just it's just so interesting the uniformity of it. I think people should look into it if you want, because I couldn't really find just one thing, but I think it's just a really cool topic. So after this, Billy talks to her dad and her uncle, just more about like cultural norms, and like again about this discussion of if they should be telling Nai Nai about it. And her uncle brings up a very interesting point. Like I think the point that just made me like switch over, or at least just like turn off my judgment, where I was like, why am I judging this situation? Where he says, in the East, You're a part of a whole. Like you're not an individual, you're a part of a family. And he says that Billy wants to tell Nai so that she can rid herself of the burden of knowing what's going to happen to her. And that they've decided not to tell her, the family's decided not to say anything because it's their duty to carry the emotional burden for her. And as soon as he said that, I was like, fuck, I'm an asshole.
Yeah. I mean,
Because that, as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, that's exact. I would, the whole time that I was thinking, I'm uncomfortable with this. I'm like all these things about
it's
me.
just not about you. You just
Yeah.
want to give that
And I mean,
person the best, however long they have left, and it's sad to know that you're gonna die. I mean, I don't.
I think it just taught me a really good lesson of just because something is existing in front of you, like just because you're like we said, this is an experience in viewing another culture, at least for us, or at least for me, that just because you're experiencing it, because we're seeing it, doesn't mean we actually have to judge it. I can
Yeah,
put my own like, oh, I wouldn't do that in this situation. But like I don't that's not my job.
yeah,
Like I just want to like it's interesting to see this other side of it because I who's to know who's right morality in the end because there's no set thing in stone that says this is what you should be doing
yeah.
with this situation.
Plus, that's so tiring. Just watch stuff to watch it.
Exactly. But like I don't know, it is an interesting conversation to like have with yourself, I guess, like what you believe in, but it should stop there. Like you shouldn't be like posting online. I mean, I'm not saying anybody's doing this, but to be like this is glorifying this or I just keep seeing that especially for a movie I don't want to talk too much about it because spoiler alerts and like also I don't really know fully what I feel about it, but for Promising Young Woman, I have a lot of feelings about the reception the movie got. It got a lot of positive ones, but I've been seeing a lot of negative ones. And so, I don't know, it's just interesting to like see a viewpoint, to experience it, to kind of like take it in and then leave it,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah. Okay. So then Billy then tells her mom that she wants to stay in China so that she can take care of Nai. And her mom's like, why? That's a bad idea. Like you have stuff you need to go back to. And like there's no point in you
Live your
staying.
life. Go do it.
Exactly. And then this is when Billy opens up to her mom about how them moving, I think you mentioned she was 6 when they moved, how that impacted her when she was a kid.
Yeah.
And that what made it worse is that they never told her what was happening. That she knew shit was going down. Like she knew stuff was wrong. And even she brings up the point of when her grandfather died. She said that they didn't say anything, that it just one day when they came to visit that he wasn't there anymore
That's strange.
and how much that impacted her. And I do understand what Billy is feeling, but like it's infuriating when parents hide stuff from you or just minimize a serious issue. It does feel, at least when you experience it, it makes you angry. But it's kind of I guess once you get older and you can kind of like sympathize, it's really hard to be mad at them.
Yeah. Especially if they want the best for you no matter what.
And I mean, like if you look at the situation, especially with her parents, and you ask yourself like why they made that decision, they just thought they were what they were doing was best. Like she said, why didn't I come to the funeral? And she's like, you're in school.
Yeah.
And I mean, that can sound like fucked up, but like Billy and I are similar in the fact that we've never been parents. So we can't it's impossible for us to judge. It's impossible for her, it's possible for her to judge her parents' decisions. It's impossible for me to judge our parents. Like it's because I don't know what I would do in situations that they've been in. Like it's hard for me to pass judgment on that because like I wasn't, she wasn't parents that had a young kid where they needed to decide if they need to take it out of school so that she can see her dead grandfather.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's a hard decision to make, and I can't imagine it was just them being like, "No, we're not gonna do it."
Yeah, they definitely put thought into it. It wasn't just like, yeah.
Yeah, rough. And then okay, so then we get to the wedding, and I just want to take a brief moment to talk about how fucking weird weddings are. So, a wedding, right? pay for people to watch you make a pinky promise. That's it. And then then you just hope in exchange for giving them like an entire dinner,
A
cake.
whole like weekend of events essentially.
Exactly. A dinner and a show is what I called it. You hope you're like, "I hope to God they get me the blender I put on my registry." What? Like, you know how much you spend on a guest per wedding? It's insane. So weddings are just weird.
It's all a scam.
If I if I pay for a meal, if I pay $200, will you please come see me make a promise? It's fucking weird. But yeah, I just wanted to dive into that. This one looked fun though. For one, the attire, casual at
Oh
best,
yeah,
which
that looked
I loved.
awesome.
The meals,
A
amazing.
full
Karaoke,
Yeah, the karaoke was awesome. The speeches were
I
kind of
give in.
awkward. It was like they just like had a party. It wasn't. I feel like this was a different wedding because it was like I guess less structured, or from what we saw, it was less structured because Nine was like, "Hey, just go talk, Billy."
And I do want to ask a question. I think it's the most important question I've ever asked you on this podcast. If me and you went to karaoke, what song would we sing together?
Wow! Don't just drop a bombshell like that and not give me prep.
We can think about it and end with that.
Yeah, let's do that.
'Cause they chose a banger, her and her dad.
They did. I'm sad it wasn't the entire song that they showed.
No. God, that's so funny. Can you imagine at a wedding doing karaoke with dad? I'd have to we'd have to have like 5 drinks each or something.
You guys would have to do Purple Rain.
Ooh. Yeah, start crying. I'm not gonna get drunk and sing Purple Rain and not cry, Anthony. Come on. All right, so think about it, and we'll end with that. I don't know what we would sing though. I wrote this question. I don't know the answer. All right, so while they're taking pictures, it's at the end of the wedding. I didn't really take like much from the wedding. I did like when we learned that Nina was in the army.
Yeah.
She was in the military or something, and she was talking to like her or the people that were in the army or in the military with her. I loved that because we got to like I think it seemed like Billy got to learn something about her
Mhm.
about Nine like while we did, and that happened sometimes. Or to at least this, like I said, this made me want to call our grandparents. So I was talking to one of our grandmothers, and I learned something about her, and I was like, I've never known that ever. So like it's just so funny where they're like, oh, did I not mention that? I'm like, no.
Yeah, because they've lived a majority of their life without you existing.
And like, yeah, I would just assume everybody that I know knew stuff about me. So
Don't
like,
forget, because I want to know. Don't forget, I want to hear it after this.
yeah. All right. So yeah, while they're taking pictures, they learn that Nine had sent for I think it was their nurse, not a
Someone.
nurse. What was she? She was like their house, like she was somebody that lived with them and just helped around the house. She sent her to get the test results from her like X-rays that she got at the hospital, and Billy like ran to go intercept them so that Nine wouldn't see what they said. And then she gets them from the lady, and they go to some place to like forge them and to say that it's a what did she say, a benign shadow?
Yeah, he's like, what
And
the
the
hell is
girl's
that?
like, what is
The hell is that?
that? And she's like, just put it. Um, yeah, and then they intercept it. So she's like, I told you guys I was fine, and they're just all staring at her. The way that this movie is framed too, like some of the frames that they have, the stills, amazing. I'm gonna have like such a great time finding one for the graphic
Yeah.
because they're all so good. And then before Billy leaves, she like I think she tells she tells Nina not about not getting the fellowship because they kind of mention that throughout the movie, but the rejection letter that she got, she tells her about it. But Nina
Ooh.
is like super encouraging. She doesn't. She's like, I'm not worried about you. You'll be fine.
There's this line that she says that's like the perfect Instagram caption.
Oh
I'm just
my
playing. It's
god.
not an Instagram caption. But what is it's something like
You're gonna say something so insightful and then you started
you
like, you always do that.
like oh oh uh
And then I poop my pants, like, something dumb, like, why would you say that?
she says like it doesn't matter what you do in your life, it's just it matters how you do it essentially. Like
Oh, yeah,
that's the vibe of what she says.
yeah. See? There it is. You just ruined it. And you know what? It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. As long as your life is a vibe, then you're right.
I think that's what she said, right?
Yeah, I think.
I'm paraphrasing, of course, but
I had to change it for my Instagram caption, but
you should do that, like, quote it and then put farewell 2019, like, the farewell 2019. Life is just a vibe when you think about it.
that's a really funny idea. Wow.
Just do that from other, like, movies.
Yeah.
For every movie that we've done,
Uh,
do
that's
that.
time consuming, but it might be worth it.
Not for everyone, but at least one.
That might be worth
Brainstorm some of them.
it.
Alright, so, um, okay, so then we get to the end where so that last shot, I I always expose myself for how much I cry, but that last shot of when Nine Eye's waving at them and they're driving away, every time I, like, ugly cry.
Oh,
Every
ugly cry.
Yeah. Well, I also I forgot to mention when you're talking about, like, what we watched, I forgot to mention this one movie. I'll maybe I can end with it, but holy shit, it's just been an emotional weekend. But yeah, like, I not maybe not ugly cried, but I cried a
Ooh.
lot. More than I'd like to admit. But yeah, it gets me every single time.
Wow.
It's so I
It
don't know, it's so
is
sad.
very sad. I mean, it's just like it
I think combination of, we haven't seen our grandparents in, like, over a year, or not over a year, almost a year.
yeah, it's been a long time. But yeah, it's very good. Very good scene. I like it.
And I thought that would be the end, but it's not. So we end with Billy. She's back in New York. And the very last shot is her walking through the city, and she stops and she starts doing the little exercise that Nine I taught her, and she lets out a ha, and then it ends. And she lets out a good one because I think before, like, her grandma was making fun of her because she was like, "You're not doing it right. Stop joking around."
You
So
stupid
good.
child.
And before the credits roll, we see a video of the real Nine Eye. And underneath it, I didn't fact check to see if this was still correct because I think that would have been, I was too
It would have
fragile.
been enough.
Um, but it says that 6 years, because like we said, it's based on a real lie from the director and writer's family. Um, it says that 6 years after her diagnosis, that Nine Eye is still alive. And they said she was going to only be alive for 3 more months.
Wow.
So,
I wonder if she knows.
so I actually have, I don't know if you see this long
Yeah, are you
ass
gonna read
fun
all that?
fact. I don't know because I haven't read it.
Oh my gosh.
But let me do the last one because I think it kind of sums up. So, the premise of this movie is based on a true story from Lulu Wang's real life. As the family in the film does, her family really did lie to Wang's grandmother about the grandmother's terminal cancer diagnosis in an attempt to prolong her life. The element of the story in which they use a family wedding as an excuse for everyone to come and visit the grandmother because she is dying is also based in fact. Wang had a great deal of trouble finding financiers to back the filming. American producers objected to the all Asian cast and insisted that she needed to add prominent white characters. Chinese financiers thought the story was too American and they insisted on adding white characters. So both sides were like, nope. So, in another attempt to draw attention to the project, Wang adapted the story into a segment of the April 22nd, 2016 episode of the public radio storytelling program This American Life, which did result in Chris Weitz coming on as a producer and procuring other financing. Um, Let me see. So, da, da. So a moderator of the event asked Wang if her grandmother still didn't know about the plot of the movie and her own cancer diagnosis. And I can read her answer. So she said, "Oh gosh, this is a complicated question. She actually just found out." Ooh. And this happened in
2019.
2020?
Oh. Oh yeah, yeah, 2020.
2020. Um, and it's very traumatic that it's coming out in China, and the title of the movie is "Don't Tell Her" in Chinese. And her friend saw a review of it and was so proud of her, one of her longest friends, and sent it to her. And the review said the film is based on Lulu Wang's real life. Her grandmother was diagnosed. It says the whole thing. Her family threw a fake wedding, all that jazz. So it went through an entire history of our family, and my grandma read it. And so she said to little Nai Nai, which is her sister, who plays herself in the movie,
Yeah, yeah.
by the way. She said, "I just thought that you were really daft because you went and shot a movie. You went to the premiere in New York and you came back and you didn't tell me anything about it. You can't tell me what it's about. You can tell me the title, but look, it says in the newspaper it's called Don't Tell Her. So that's why you didn't tell me, because I am her of the Don't Tell Her." So she found out.
Wow. I don't see that she has passed, so I think she's still alive and
Oh,
kicking.
thank God. That would I don't know if I would have been able to handle it. I'm like not joking. That would I
We'd have to cut this short.
yeah. Um all right. Okay, last question, and then we'll do a couple more fun facts. What prop would you steal?
Uh, I don't know. I
I I would take little Ellen, and if I can't take her, her outfit.
oh. um, I'd take one of the backdrops from the
Ooh.
photography, like photo shoot scene. But I also would really want any of the food because it looked really amazing. It looks so
Oh.
good.
Oh yeah, if we could just like have a meal at one of those tables, then yeah.
The home cooked
I
ones though, those look better.
Ooh, and I just love that style of like I think you just have your own little bowl and you just take from
Yeah,
that's interesting. I don't think we have ever eaten like that.
yeah. We always just like serve ourselves
Yeah.
and then sit down.
Interesting. All right, so some fun facts. So, in addition to writing and directing, Lulu Wang also plays piano on the film's soundtrack, which I didn't know. In an interview with Terry Gross on NPR's Fresh Air on July 24th, 2019, Lulu Wang related how she had considerably underestimated the rates she would have to pay Chinese actors, citing how Shuzhen Zhao, who plays Nai Nai, oh, that's what I said, is a very popular actress in China, and how she had to personally plead with her to accept this role. All right, and the last one is a July 2019 Eric Kahn article on IndieWire said that when this movie opened in limited release on July 12th, it quote beat out Avengers Endgame for the year's biggest per theater average.
Nice.
Very interesting. All right. Loved it.
I absolutely loved it.
And doing more of the thing I love about this podcast, I truly thought this podcast would like doing this podcast would make me not like movies.
Really?
But I thought I'd like over scrutinize and it would just get annoying. But it does the exact opposite. Where I knew I loved this movie, but now I'm like, I love it even more doing the research, and I don't know, just like you have to think of things to talk about,
Hmm.
right? You can't just like I don't want to just list off what happens. So I feel like I just think more critically about things.
Yeah. Um, I mean, this is almost going to be our next another 2 hour episode. So I think we've had a lot of good stuff. It's a good episode right here. It's a good episode.
Hopefully, it's all like if it ends up being close to 2 hours, that it's good and it's not just like
I think it's a good long episode. We haven't
us
had one in a
rambling.
while,
I think. Oh, okay.
so we're good.
True. All right. Are you ready for my pick?
Yeah. What are we watching?
All right. Oh, can I pause?
Yeah.
You might. Sorry, I have to edit.
You're good.
Should we? should we mention? Should it be a thing that we mention we're gonna do all films made by Black filmmakers, or should we just do it?
Probably should just do it because I didn't know that we were gonna do it last episode, and like it's February already. You know,
Okay.
like it should have been something we did all month, but I didn't know we were doing it. Like we didn't decide before.
Oh shit. Yeah, I forget the scheduling. So yeah. In my head, I was like, oh, this will come out this Thursday. I'm dumb. Okay, never mind. No, but okay. But what I want to say is I want to challenge us because if you think about the movies that we've done this year, I think we've only done non-white movies, right?
Yeah, let me look.
Soul, One Night in Miami, The Farewell, and then we're gonna do His House.
I don't know what his house is. Yeah, I think that's right.
I would like to. My goal is to have this all year, but I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Never mind then. Sorry, I completely forgot that
no worries.
the scheduling is a week off. Never mind then. I won't say it. Okay. All right. So my next pick, I'm very excited for. Just to preface it, I guess it kind of gives. It doesn't give it away too much, but I have seen this movie just a little bit. I've only seen maybe the first 20 minutes, and it scared the shit out of me. And I was like, one, we're watching this on the podcast.
Mm.
Two, I need to watch this at night so I can actually scare the shit out of myself.
Ooh.
And it's a movie on Netflix called His House.
I've never heard
It
of
came out in
this.
October, and it came out right after we did Spooky October, and so I was like, "Fuck!" Like I knew I wanted to do this in October, or in November, but I was like, we've already done so many, so I think this is a perfect time to like break the format of us doing like wholesome, good. Like I think it'll still be good, but like wholesome, like upbeat, or at least like history, all that stuff. This is going to be straight up scary.
I'm excited.
And I guess I can read this is IMDb, so I'm going to read this again next week, but you'll just hear it. So it's about a refugee couple that makes a harrowing escape from war-torn South Sudan, but then they struggle to adjust to their new life in an English town that has an evil lurking beneath the surface.
Ooh, I haven't seen a good scary movie in a while, so I'm excited.
Me neither, and that's what I mean. Like when I saw that there was like one part that scared the absolute shit out of me, I was like, yeah, I need to like this is gonna have to be a moment,
Oh,
an
hell
experience.
yeah! I'm excited to watch it.
And I already look like I'm in a spooky setting.
Yeah.
All right.
Episode 64 will be
His House on
His
Netflix.
House on Netflix. Cool. Thank you guys for listening and
Thanks for
watching.
2000.
Yeah, thanks for 2000 as well. I think we hit 1,000 on Spotify too, but I think I posted that somewhere. If I didn't, oh no, I don't have the Instagram. Whatever. Thank you guys.
All right. See you next time.
Peace.